There are many ways to subscribe to a podcast. In today's video, we're going to look at iTunes. To subscribe to a podcast using iTunes, you can do it in a couple of ways. You first need to be in the iTunes store. Next, you can click Podcasts and browse for iTunes featured podcasts. Or you can simply search for podcasts. You can do that by doing a basic search in the top right-hand corner, or by performing a power search. Let's do a power search. First, make sure you have podcast selected. Second, choose a field that you're going to search in. Let's choose description. Type your search pattern and click search. From here, you can see the name of the podcast, the artist, the popularity, etc. To get more information on this podcast, click the arrow next to the name. In this screen, you can get a look at past episodes and download them. You can tell a friend about this podcast, visit the website, write reviews, or just get a brief description about this podcast. You can also subscribe to the podcast from here. Let's click the back button. From here, you can subscribe to the podcast as well. When you subscribe, iTunes automatically subscribes you to that feed and starts downloading the latest podcast. You can view your subscription by clicking the podcast button to the left. It's orange, it's downloading the podcast. Click the arrow to view the podcasts. A check mark means that the episode has been downloaded. If you right-click on the episode and choose Play Next in Party Shuffle, you can listen to the podcast within iTunes. You can also browse and download old episodes by clicking Get next to the episode you want to download. If you have an iPod, you can transfer the podcast over and listen to it on the go. If you have a different MP3 player, you might have to browse to the folder that iTunes downloads podcasts into and transfer it over by dragging and dropping. That folder is usually in My Documents, My Music, iTunes, iTunes Music, and Podcasts. To unsubscribe from a podcast, simply right-click the podcast and select Delete. Click Remove and move to Recycle Bin to get rid of the old podcasts. If you have the URL address for a podcast you want to subscribe to, you can add that as well. Click on the Advanced button at the top and select Subscribe to Podcast. Type in the URL of the podcast you want to subscribe to and click OK.